Verse 127. The wise do not see error, nor is there any truth in its midst. If truth is in its midst, error would be truth. This is the spiritual practitioner again, the enlightenment practitioner. There's no room for any ambivalence here. In the last video, I spoke about how the attention has nowhere interesting to go, because nothing consists of any intrinsic substance. You're looking at these pixels on a screen, but you're not thinking of the pixels. You're thinking of the images that are being presented, and hopefully the sounds are reflecting you back towards yourself to some extent. The point though is that if you're looking at this screen and realizing its true nature as pixels, then it would become uninteresting. In the same way, when you're watching a TV set, rather than what the TV is portraying, then it wouldn't be interesting. And in the same way, whatever we're experiencing, whatever our senses are supposedly conveying, there is nothing of any intrinsic substance. The reality we put onto them, the reality that we put onto those sensory forms, is exactly that. It's a projection of the attention away from itself. There is nothing more fascinating than the attention itself. And if there are any buts here, these are the but surely that is real thing. Surely some aspect of the physical world is real. Well, then this is error. The enlightenment practitioner has no excuse for the attention to be diverted from itself. It's true that it must get diverted from itself when it's engaging with conventional reality. But when we're practicing, which can be at any time, at any moment, not just when we're sitting in any kind of formal practice, enlightenment practice can happen during any of the gaps that arise when we're engaging with conventional reality. So when we're practicing, we know that there's nothing of any intrinsic interest out there. So to believe otherwise is error. There is no truth out there. There's that warning from the X-Files. The truth is out there. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because there is no out there. If you believe that the truth is out there, then that truth that you're adhering to is error. So that's what verse 127 is telling us. Verse 128. If there is the arising of individual forms, apart from all error, this will indeed be error. The defiled is like darkness. This is rising of individual forms. This is what we see. We see forms coming into existence and disappearing. And when I say coming into existence, I mean coming into our awareness. There are forms, entities, objects coming into our awareness and going out of our awareness all the time. And to regard them as such, to regard them as individual objects and entities, this is error. And to believe otherwise is what verse 126 referred to as a mind saturated with the forms of ignorance. So this defiled here is the defiled mind. It's the mind which is attached to the perceptions which arise, the forms, the individual forms. But it's a darkness. It's a darkness which is occluding the light of our own awareness, the light of our attention. It's the tension which is hearing this, and which is what is of the most fundamental interest. Verse 129 continues in the same theme. As a man whose eye is affected with a cataract perceives a hair circle because of his delusion, so the ignorant perceive an objective world rising with its various aspects. Again, this objective world is the apparent phenomenal world which is coming and going to our senses all the time. One moment I see a video camera, another moment I'm experiencing a laptop computer, a cup, a light. These forms are coming and going all the time. It's the objective world rising with its various aspects. This hair circles just the ganglia, the nerves at the back of the eye, which you see when you look at the bright sky. You see these little hair things floating around. We normally realize them to be a defect, rather than think of them as things actually floating around in the sky. But this is the situation most of us are in. We are taking our defective understanding as reality. And finally, verse 130. This triple world resembles a hairnet, or water in a mirage, which is agitated. It is like a dream, maya, and by thus regarding it, one is emancipated. So the triple world is the totality of our experience. It resembles a hairnet. What a hairnet does is it encloses the wild hair into a particular form, into a particular shape. It makes an effort to hold it together into a particular form, and this is what the mind is doing all the time. There's this stream of experiencing going on, and the mind holds parts of it in particular forms, and this is driven by our own emotional dispensations. We hold things in a particular form which has an emotional significance for us. It's like water in a mirage. The water in a mirage is something we get excited about, especially if we're thirsty. We're looking for something. We're looking for some kind of emotional fulfillment, something to slake our emotional thirst. So we get lost in the mirage like a dream, maya. And maya is that power which gives reality to our dreams. It gives reality to the mirage. it gives reality to the so-called sensory phenomena. And by this regarding it, one is emancipated. Once we realise this, just as we realise when we wake up after a night's sleep, just as we realise that after we wake up from a night's sleep, we regard all the nighttime experiences as dream. We put this word dream onto all of our nighttime experiences. No matter how intense, how vivid, how terrifying, how erotic, it's all dream. And then we can put it aside. Once we've labelled it, we put it aside. And once we realise that everything is of the nature of water in a mirage, something that's given shape by our own dispositions, we can label it all samsara. This is samsara. And we no longer need to let our attention be diverted by it. And the attention can realize it is the fundamental, most fascinating fact. So never mind these pixels on the screen. Come back to the attention that is listening to this. There's nothing of interest here.